City Radio.
Yes, indeed. Salford City Radio. Good morning, Linda Fisher. We've got Linda who's joined us this morning. Now, you've been here before, haven't you, Linda? You've been with me on here many times. But you've got you're here to talk to us today about a campaign that's close to your heart, and it's about fireworks and PTSD, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it and what the campaign's all about.
Right, so last year I started a campaign to raise awareness really about the effects of fireworks and PTSD, and veterans and people who are serving in the armed forces obviously are affected as well. And fireworks, as we know, are much louder these days. They're easy to buy. And if they are used irresponsibly, or particularly the random use of fireworks, then they can have a negative impact on people who are suffering from PTSD. They can take people back to events when they were serving in the armed forces, and those events could have been traumatic events, bring back anxiety, losing sleep, etc. And we've had really strong feedback from armed forces personnel and veterans saying, yeah, people don't think about it, and people should think about it. What's really important to say is that we're not against fireworks in this campaign at all. I like to go and watch firework campaigns, displays like anybody else. There's
a time and a place, isn't there?
There is. It's about responsible use of fireworks,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly for those young people maybe who think it's a good idea to just set them off in the parks. We know the impact that fireworks have on dogs, for example, but actually for veterans and people that are serving in the armed forces, it can have, these negative effects with PTSD. So that's what we're trying to do, and most people don't perhaps realise how many veterans or armed forces personnel we have within our community. So we're saying, remember our veterans and armed forces personnel on the 5th of November, and we've devised a poster that we are trying to get out there. We've had Middleton Fireworks Shop. They are giving the leaflet out, and the poster is displayed, and they're actually giving those out to anybody that buys fireworks, and I think that's a really good thing to do. We've also got a couple of cricket clubs, Atherton Cricket Club and a rugby union club actually in Lee, who are also sending out the posters, because what they're saying is to people that are coming to their perhaps bonfire nights, that actually to think about, if you've got children or you're having something in your back garden, then just think about maybe veterans or armed forces personnel that live nearby, and that's what we're trying to do. And I'm also going to be writing to the government as well to say that we really want to see this in the sellers code for fireworks.
I was going to say, yeah, because is it not possible? I mean, it shows how long it is since I've bought fireworks now. But is it not possible when you used to go and buy a box of fireworks, and I think, God forbid me, but it was standard fireworks when I bought them. And you buy this box of standard fireworks, and when you open it up, there's a little leaflet telling you how to light the firework and get sorted. Why can we not have a leaflet in there?
Exactly. I think that's what this campaign's trying to do, really. Armed forces personnel and veterans know the impact that it has on them, and we've got some great ambassadors, that are out there speaking about PTSD and fireworks. But I think the sellers of fireworks perhaps don't really understand those impacts. And actually, people like myself, civilians, we don't realise when we're letting them off randomly or in the back garden the impacts that they have. And if we could get it into the sellers' fireworks, the code that they do actually give out, as you say, I think that would be a great step forward. Obviously, pets as well. That would be useful as well.
Maybe we can contact some of these people on your behalf.
Yeah.
With a view to doing that. Maybe if we don't get it done for this year, it may be for next year.
Yeah.
But it's something we can work on.
Absolutely.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Now, you've got with you today a gentleman called Paul.
Yes, I have, yeah.
And he's going to tell us a little bit about... He suffers with PTSD, and he's going to tell us a little bit about fireworks and how it affects him, and what it's like being, I suppose, exposed to it. Good morning, Paul.
Morning, mate. How are you?
I'm fine. Linda's a little bit been saying this morning with you about what kind of effect it has on veterans.
Well, I can only speak for myself.
Yeah.
Talk
That's it.
into the mic.
Hello.
I can only speak
You'd
for
always
myself.
get one. Just thank God we've not got the webcam on.
Start again. I don't speak for myself because my experiences were totally different from other veterans who were suffering. But the week or 2 weeks build up before bonfire night, the shops start selling their fireworks, and then you could be walking down with your dog or with your wife. I'll rephrase that again. You can walk. You can walk in with your wife or you. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And then
We get the picture.
Yeah, that's it. And then somebody throws a firework, and at that split time it goes off, your mind springs back to incidents, and your body quenches and become what do you call it now? Some new word used where hyperventilate.
Hyperventilate.
That's
yeah.
it. That's it. And
Like panic attacks.
yeah, panic attacks, and you do start sweating and start observing more and more. It's scary. Plus, I like bonfire nights because I liked it as a kid, but there's one case when I was a child, which I always remember, and this always brings back this event because everybody knows years ago you spent a week building your bonfire, didn't you? You used to go around getting wood from shops or whenever, and then one bonfire night, it was in Salford in fact, yeah, we lit the bonfire, but we forgot that there's a little girl inside, and so the girl burnt to death, and that always brings back memories of a bonfire night, see, and it's so sad. And when fireworks start going off, that's the memory that springs back. I mean, she's only about 4 or 5. You know, it's so sad. I mean, but whenever he sets a loud bang off, it just, your mind that's funny, thinking of that time or the times you've been in contact and everything. It's we ain't against fireworks. I'm not against fireworks, but people don't realise that bang or that stupidity or somebody throwing a firework, it affects not only the animals but a lot of people, especially veterans and older veterans. And I found out recently as well, when they paid a visit to a local prison, I brought it up to them, well, what happens on bonfire night, you know, with the veterans who are in custody? They didn't know. They didn't know how to answer. Oh, we'll just leave them in the cells. But how can you leave a veteran in a cell when there's all fireworks going off and not giving due care? It just...
Especially when his mind could be taking him back to a battlefield incident.
It's just so... People don't understand it, so... I wouldn't like it to be banned or anything. No, because we enjoyed bonfire night. Well, I say, yeah, most people do. But you need a bit of a thought of why sell fireworks 2 weeks before when we was kids, the shops are selling them about 2-3 days before.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the bonfire night, which is on one night. Recently, I got a Twitter from somebody saying Salford bonfire at night in the Blue Hill Park this week. I thought, well, it's not even bonfire night, but yet they're doing a big display. And why can't the councils get involved, thinking we do it on the correct day, no matter if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Why has it always got to be, oh, sorry, it's weekend because people are working? But it's wrong time.
It's a good point, that, Paul. And I just want to ask Linda on that. I just want to, when you're dealing with councils, right, and sometimes I understand what Paul's saying, let's all have it on the 5th of November. But councils don't work like that, do they? They work on what's logistically comfortable for them, and what's easy. Like, we're talking Salford City Council are currently running 2 events, one on the 3rd of November and one on the 5th, which is great if you wanted to go to both. You've got double the enjoyment, but it's not anymore about running it on the day, is it? It's about running it on the day closest to, which actually in a lot of cases extends the bonfire period, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, and I think that's obviously from the campaign that we're dealing with. It makes it more difficult. But I think councils, it's often about road closures, staffing, isn't it, and all the safety that goes with holding an event, really. Which, if you've got two big events in your borough, then it's preferable to split them. And obviously we can't stop people applying to hold these events. And, you know, we mustn't forget the community and children absolutely love these events. You know, some people think we should have, you know, silent fireworks. As you know, there are other people who have those views. But I think, you know, from our point of view, it's more about just the awareness and asking people to think. That's all we're asking people to do, and particularly members of the public who maybe haven't got relatives in the armed forces, who don't realise the impact on veterans or serving personnel. And, you know, I've certainly had feedback on the Facebook page, the Greater Manchester Armed Forces page, from civilians who have said, I would not have even thought about that. It's just not something that would have come into my mind. We've got veteran comments that from people that just say, I just hide between now and the end of all this awful, you know, this awful period, and others making big pleas for people to just stop randomly letting them off.
Yeah, but now, Linda, now people forget as well. Now, when did it come in? Bonfire now is now New Year's Eve.
Halloween, it's everything.
Halloween, New Year's Eve, it's just the same.
And we've also got, obviously, we have, you know, New Year's Eve. We have New Year's Eve celebrations now as well. So this campaign is not just about bonfire night, really, and fireworks. It's
no, because I think any bang can create a flashback.
Of course it can.
But it's not just the bangs. It can be a number of things. And I very, very briefly want to touch on a story of another veteran, which is a friend of Paul's. We won't name him because it's not fair to do so because he's not here. And we're talking about something as simple as bubble wrap. Okay. Now, this gentleman was telling me that he walked into a room, which was a garage, actually. He walked into a garage and there was some bubble wrap had come, it was on the floor, some parts had been wrapped in it, and somebody had stepped over it, and he immediately thought it was machine gun fire and threw himself on the floor trying to hide under a vehicle because the sound was so similar to that incident, and it took him right back there. So it's about responsible, isn't it? It's about being responsible about things, and some things that we take for granted are not necessarily so.
Yeah, that's very true, and I've heard that story from the veteran, and, you know, he's very emotional, you know, when he says it. And I think, actually, you know, the friend or relative who had left the bubble wrap in the garage hadn't realised at all that that's the impact it would have had. I think, you know, perhaps, you know, they'd left it there, and I think it was a dark room and he'd just gone into the room. But obviously he did have sweats, he didn't sleep, it affected, you know, his mental health and well-being. And again, it's, you know, stories like that are so powerful, and only the veterans and armed forces personnel can you know, really let us know what those impacts are. We should mention as well, I think it's responsible to do so, that there are services out there at this time of year for veterans and serving personnel, such as the Military Veterans Service, that do offer support for these sorts of episodes, or if you do need support because you're anxious at this time. Their number's 0300 323 0707. And there's also a national charity combat stress. There are others out there as well, but they have a 24-hour helpline, and I know they're active in Salford as well. They work with the Veterans Networks, and their number is 0800 138 1619. So there is support there, but I think we can just do so much more as communities to actually support our armed forces families. The other thing to say is that if somebody in the armed forces or a veteran is affected by this, then it affects the family. You know, so there are spouses out there are children out there that are then affected because mum or dad is out of action for a few days. And it can be, you know, that debilitating, you know, to people who, you know, just then retreat and are affected by that anxiety.
Can I just ask, mainly to Paul at this moment, so when we're talking about fireworks going off and creating this PTSD, if it was an organised firework display, so if we go back to a few years ago, they were trying to say that really we should stop people buying fireworks and just keep it as an organised event. Now, if you was to know that it was an organised event, would this still create a problem for you? Or is it really knowing that anyone has a firework and they could be just throwing them randomly. Because I personally, and I know there's a lot of people out there, would like to see organised events. Again, so it stops this random banging of fireworks all year, really.
Yeah, good point, Gina. That would help. But remember, years ago, fireworks was a Roman candle or little jack-in-the-box. Now, you get fireworks like Chinese grenade-type things, which so loud, it just sounds like an
explosion.
Yeah. And the best way I can describe how veterans feel who suffer around this time is, if you've got a dog or a cat, you see him in the corner, shivering, crying in the corner. That's how we feel. I mean, scared, literally. I want to say, I can't say it because it's on air, and it's just, everything comes loose from you, You're coming from, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cats or dogs, mess up on the floor. I'm not saying it happens, but that's how scared you can get, thinking, go away, you know what I mean? And with most veterans, the scariest part, I think, about PTSD now is going to sleep, because you're scared of going to sleep. The reason being is, when you go to sleep, your nightmares happen. So that's why you get a lot of veterans who don't sleep, because they're too scared of going to sleep. I am. I mean, sometimes I'm awake 3 or 4 in the morning and just too scared to go to sleep, because what happens? That's it, really.
Feel free to join us if you want to phone in. It's 0161 793 2944. Alternatively, send us an email, studio@salfordcityradio.org. Right back after this with a very special